Okay, think about this. A true musical icon, right? But locked in this really intense fight, not just about the music itself, but like who actually owned it, his life's work.
Yeah, it's way more than just music history. It digs into the power dynamics, the real mechanics of the whole industry.
Exactly. And today we're diving into Prince, obviously, but also another really, really big name in the music world. Their stories are tangled up in ways you might not expect.
hmm And she sheds light on these wider industry connections.
So, our mission here really is to try and understand these forces, ownership, influence, control within the music business, all seen through, well, through Prince's incredible and sometimes difficult journey.
Okay, so let's start with Prince's battle.
Yeah.
It wasn't just about getting paid more, though that was part of it. It was fundamental. It was about who he was as an artist.
He signed with Warner Music pretty early on, right?
Yeah, very early. And look, they clearly knew he was special, but that first contract,
Yeah.
well, it kind of planted the seeds for the problems down the line.
And then came MTV. Music videos blew up.
Totally.
Hmm.
And that changed the game, didn't it? It gave artists this huge new platform, more reach, more influence. Prince got that instantly. He understood that power shift.
Right. And as he got bigger, artistically and commercially, so did his desire for independence, for autonomy.
So he sets up Paisley Park Records,
Yeah.
which at first was a partnership with Warner, but it quickly became a source of tension.
He felt boxed in.
Boxed in, yeah.
Mhm.
And frankly, ripped off. He felt he wasn't getting his fair share, wasn't getting the control he deserved. And that led to this very public, very dramatic fight with the label.
It was dramatic. I mean, writing slave on his face.
That wasn't just for show. You have to understand the depth of feeling there.
Yeah.
Or changing his name to the symbol.
Pronounceable symbol, yeah.
It was him basically shouting, I feel like property here. He felt trapped by those contracts.
And he was determined to get his masters back, those original recordings.
Absolutely determined. Even
Yeah.
talking about re-recording everything. That tells you how much control meant to him. His view was basically labels are distribution, a delivery service. They don't own the core creation.
He was really poking the bear, challenging the whole system.
He was, and even super early on, he saw what was coming with digital stuff, with the internet.
Like his fights with YouTube.
Exactly. Taking action against platforms for using his music without permission. That was pretty groundbreaking back then.
It's kind of amazing he eventually got his name back and even did another deal with Warner before he passed.
It is. But his whole struggle, it really throws this persistent industry imbalance into sharp relief, doesn't it?
How so?
Well, this feeling many artists have that they create the value, but they only see a tiny fraction of the reward. Prince was just very, very vocal about it.
Okay, so let's pivot slightly. There's another major figure operating in the same world.
Right. And this individual's label, Bad Boy Records, had this pretty significant deal with Warner Brothers, too. Reports say Warner got a 50% stake.
Wow, 50%. Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Because that kind of deal, giving up so much revenue, so much control to a major label, that's exactly the kind of structure Prince was fighting tooth and nail against.
Precisely. And while this other figure built this huge, successful empire, there have been quite a few artists from that label who've come forward over the years alleging, well, mistreatment, unfair deals.
Yeah, those stories have been around for a while.
It definitely makes you question the nature of these deals, and what the real impact is on the artists signed to them.
And isn't it interesting that reports started surfacing about this figure returning publishing rights to some former artists?
Right around the time legal issues started mounting. Yeah, people pointed that out. Returning rights to huge names like Biggie.
Huh.
But the suggestion was that for some, this only happened after the label had already profited for years and years.
So you got Prince on one side, fighting the system, this other figure seemingly working within it, maybe even mastering it. But then there's this weird connection.
The house parties. Yeah. Apparently, Prince let this other figure use his house for parties.
Wild. But Prince himself never went.
That's the story. Reportedly, he stayed away. And the reasons, well, there are rumors he had concerns. Didn't like what might be going on.
Concerns about what?
It's not totally clear, just a general sense of unease, maybe. There's even this detail about security. Apparently, guests couldn't bring their own security teams. Only the host's security was allowed.
That sounds controlling. Creates a very specific kind of environment.
Definitely paints a picture.
Yeah.
And then the web gets even more tangled. There's a third person involved, someone known to be very close with the second figure we mentioned.
Okay.
And Prince's estate ended up in a legal fight with this person's streaming service, Tidal.
Ah, right, overstreaming his music.
Exactly. Unauthorized streaming, according to the estate.
Ugh.
A huge chunk of his catalog suddenly appeared on Tidal.
What was the dispute about? Did Tidal claim they had the rights?
Yeah, they claimed they had agreements. Written agreements, verbal agreements, giving them exclusive rights to stream a lot of Prince's albums.
But the estate disagreed.
Strongly. They argued those agreements, especially one document talking about potential ownership or finances, were basically faked. Backdated. They said the only real deal was for one single new album. And when they asked Tidal for proof of these other deals, they apparently got stonewalled.
Wow. That certainly feeds into a particular narrative, doesn't it?
It does. This idea that maybe there are, let's say, similar playbooks used by certain powerful people in the industry when it comes to artist rights and their music.
Which loops right back to what Prince was always warning about.
Exactly. He talked constantly about the machine, these big, powerful forces in the music business that he felt just chewed artists up and spat them out, exploited them.
And when you look at the figures we've discussed, the kinds of deals, the allegations, his warnings feel pretty pointed.
They really do.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, we have to talk about the circumstances around his death.
Yeah. The official cause, accidental fentanyl overdose, which for so many people just didn't sit right.
It didn't, because Prince, by all public accounts, was incredibly health conscious.
Mm-hmm.
Vegan, didn't drink, supposedly avoided recreational drugs, very active. It just seems so counter to everything known about him.
It felt off, especially given his whole persona and lifestyle.
And you add to that the reports from the weeks just before he died. Health problems, canceled shows.
That emergency plane landing, where he supposedly got treated for an opioid overdose just days before.
Right, which raises huge questions. If that happened, if he was unwell, why wasn't he getting, consistent medical help?
It seems strange that someone with his resources wasn't under a doctor's close care at that point.
Very strange. And then there are those, eerie details, things he said or did.
Yeah, that comment about the elevator being the devil, given where he was found. It's chilling.
And the lyric from Let's Go Crazy, right? Don't let the elevator bring us down. It hits differently now.
Yeah.
It really does. Plus, that social media post shortly before he died, the one that got deleted, just when you thought you were safe. What did that mean?
And his very last words at Paisley Park, apparently telling people to wait a few days before you waste any prayers. It just hangs in the air.
So you can understand why some people, even other artists who've maybe felt those same industry pressures,
Wondered if there was more to it. If his activism, his fight against the machine, somehow played a role.
Exactly. It's a thought that's definitely out there. And, we even see artists today, younger artists, speaking out about very similar issues. Control, ownership, fair deals. It feels like his fight is still being fought.
So bringing this all together, this deep dive really opens up this incredibly complex, often murky world. Power, money, ownership, allegations flying around.
Prince's whole quest for control, for fairness, it really stands out against some of the other business models we've touched on. And those unanswered questions around his death, plus his own kind of foreboding comments, it really underlines the potential stakes when you challenge the powers that be.
So when you take all this in this tangled web, the ongoing fight for artists' rights, the questions that still linger, what does it all really mean for you listening? What does it suggest about where things are headed for artists and how transparent or maybe how not transparent this industry truly is? Definitely gives you a lot to chew on.